pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Santucci.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight will be the last evening of our budget workshops. You do have the schedule out in front of you. Before we begin, I'd be remiss if I did not thank two people who I neglected to thank at the first meeting, one being Rebecca Medina Stewart for her efforts on the look of the presentations as well as what the budget will look like when we are able to transmit that to you. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Tom Good for all of his efforts on this budget process, specifically with departments of Environmental Services, Sustainable Management, the Center for Active Aging, and Parks and Recreation. So with that, our first presentation will be from Economic Development. And
Okay.
Chris, it's all yours.
If we could let the record show also that Vice Mayor Drosky is now here.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Commission. I'm Chris Morey, Director of Economic Development. So we have a small department. Actually, our whole department is here tonight. So we do get a lot done with very little staffing. So let's just start with our achievements from last year so you can know what we've been up to. So to date, we've logged in 364 new companies in the city. We have visited 13 companies on a one-on-one business visitation program, and we've assisted 109 companies. Business assistance can be anything from a 5-minute phone call referring a company to a resource they may need. Sometimes it can be a many-week or many-month ongoing assistance with some of our bigger projects. So the number of companies assisted can really run the gamut. A big achievement this year has been talent attraction. We know that we have a really very desirable advanced industry cluster in the city. And so one of the things that's really important to us is making sure that they have an ongoing reservoir of new talent. So how do we do that? Over this past year, the City Commission has approved 2 economic incentives related to high-wage job creation. One was DNA Labs with their 10 jobs that pay over $77,000 a piece, and TELUS, which is 34 jobs paying over, I believe it's $58,000 a piece. So those are some really nice new jobs in the city. Of course, staff has been working to bring launch code to the city. We're real excited about this initiative. In fact, I just shared with Dave last night that the application period for the launch code program closed, and very pleased to report that launch code did accept 100 applicants into the program, and 25 of them are Deerfield Beach residents. So we actually exceeded our 20% goal with that program. That's really been a group effort. The EDC has helped us. Of course, launch code has just been a dream to work with. Again, talent attraction, we have partnerships with CareerSource Broward. We've had a very successful Deerfield Beach Career and Resource Fair, where the first fair that we held, we were aware of 10 jobs that were directly created that night at that fair. Of course, the City Commission authorized the Hire DFB program this past year. That's to incentivize companies to hire local residents. And so we've funded that to create 50 jobs. And in the next couple of weeks, we're launching a Ready to Work soft skills training program to help people with those soft skills that they may need to get a job. So when we look at all this talent attraction together, we can take credit for 99 jobs created in the city, just direct jobs relating from our work that we've done this past year. So to keep ourselves in touch with the business community, we do business outreach events. Of course, the State of the City is our premier event of the year. We also host a commercial brokers breakfast where we invite the movers and shakers in the commercial brokerage community to the city to basically give them a little marketing video or a pitch on why they should be bringing their clients to Deerfield Beach. We do quarterly business roundtables now, where business owners or potential business owners come and they actually meet here and they get a program, resources about how to start businesses or various other topics about small business development. Of course, we continually do referrals to partner events and things that our businesses can really benefit from other providers. We've really upped our game in terms of getting out and marketing the city through the attendance at trade shows. We've attended the International Council of Shopping Centers trade show in Las Vegas this year. Last year we went to Orlando. We've attended and supported the SUPX. It's a startup expo trade show. Of course, the mayor's familiar with the Mayor's Realtor Breakfast, where he pitches the city to all the residential realtors from South Florida. The Broward County Small Business Expo, and the FITSE, which is the Florida International Trade and Cultural Expo. We've really been making a lot of efforts to do a better job at attracting and interacting with Brazilian and other South American type business development opportunities. So, as I mentioned, we've assisted 109 businesses year to date. We've also continued to offer, by partnering with our planning and development services, of course, our building department people, the Platinum Permitting Program for companies coming through the city's development review process. We continue to market the city and market business opportunities through social media marketing, and we've gotten much more active in startup business coaching. So in terms of marketing, we've become more active in social media campaigns. I'm sure Rebecca talked to you about the importance of social media. We're active now on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn to market all of our events, which is one explanation of why our events are so well attended now. Again, we've started really upping our game in terms of going to trade shows. This year we specifically focused on retail attraction. Gigi's been working on a database of prospects that we maintain now. So when opportunities come up, we can go back to the well and see who might be interested in various opportunities. We maintain a property catalog of real estate opportunities, available properties in the city. And of course, we have a constant flow of ongoing developer and investor meetings. One thing that we've really branched out in and set our intent on this year is expanding our participation in regional partnerships. It's really, I think Deerfield Beach has, over the past couple of years, under the guidance of this city commission, made itself more known in the region. And so this is a list of actually all of the regional partners and marketing partners that we have that we interact with on a regular basis to make those relationships and make Deerfield relevant in South Florida. Eddie? This is probably the best achievement, though, by far. 3 weeks ago, I guess it is now, Wallet Hub published their annual list of best small cities in the U.S. to start a business. And Deerfield Beach is number 15. Couldn't be prouder of this because it's moved up from number 19 last year. And if you look at the group of of cities that we are surrounded with, we're in very good company. I want to point out that we're only one step below Boca Raton. So I know sometimes people think that Boca is all that, but it's not. It's not all that. We are right there in that mix of comparable cities. So for fiscal 20, of course, based on what I told you, a lot of the things that we're going to be doing is more of the same now that we know what works for us. Again, focusing on new businesses. This year we will continue to focus on special district investment, pitching Pioneer Grove, Dixie Highway, and the Four Corners areas for outside investment or inward investment. We're going to continue to be interested in employment growth to support our targeted industries. One thing that's an ongoing concern for the Economic Development Department is that our per capita income still lags behind the county. We have an ongoing serious problem with poverty in the city, and so through economic development, we hope to chip away at those statistics little by little. We want to, oh, I'm sorry, go back, Eddie, I'm sorry. We want to make sure that those opportunities are available to Deerfield Beach residents. And of course, when companies do close or move or different size or that kind of thing, we want to encourage entrepreneurship from the people that leave and encourage advanced industry spinoff. So this is the operating department for this department. As you can see, we are, I think, probably the smallest department in the city. This is what we spend on personal services and operating expenditures. And based on your questions from last night, I'm going to tell you that the increase in this economic development budget is largely attributable to the higher DFB program that you approved this year. So what are trends that we should be looking at beyond fiscal 20? Of course, there's the ongoing threat of a national economic adjustment. It's in the news. It's not just me making this up. There's 3 national publications talking about it. So that's something for us to keep in mind, that the expansion of the local economy is not going to continue forever. Excuse me. And also, in the next couple of years, we're really going to have to get serious about finding money for catalytic project funding for Pioneer Grove, Dixie Highway, and the Four Corners areas. We're going to be looking at economic development more as redevelopment. Again, looking at those, districts, we're going to be looking at higher and better use for the existing properties. We're going to be looking at how online retail is replacing bricks and mortar stores. Excuse me. Legislative mandates and assessing innovative new businesses. How are we going to adapt to things like Airbnb or medical marijuana as they come down the turnpike? Thank you.
Vice Mayor Droskey? No. I have a couple of questions for you. When it comes to your goals, as far as what you're looking at for 2020, you put out a generic statement of new businesses. So what is the goal? How many are we looking to attract? What are we looking to do?
In terms of our
What is our metrics is basically what I'm trying to figure out.
I don't have our my benchmarks with me right now, but I believe our excuse me, our goal was 400 new businesses a year, so we're almost there already.
Okay. And employment growth in targeted industries, do you have a goal on that? Do you have actual real?
Not yet.
Okay. And increase in per capita income, what is realistic that we think could set for a goal of what you can do, and how far can we actually influence that?
That's something for us to talk about over this next year. I don't really know what is manageable or realistic. We just know it's not where it should be.
Okay. And the operating expenditures, the slight increase that you have is the higher DFB program, and we're looking to do create 50 jobs with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Commissioner.
I'm looking at economic development here, and I hear a conversation going on about jobs, about growth in the city, and what's left out of that conversation is my district, District 2. So, when you say business potential, and we talk about a business opportunity, that does not equal business plan, a business plan. And at some point, I want us to get serious, staff, I'm asking the commission, so that we can include District 2 as a part of this very vital and serious conversation. For the longest time, Dixie Highway has not been developed for over years and years. A lot of talk about business potential, a lot of talk about business opportunity, but nothing has been done. And so I'm going to ask the city to let's fund a study of economic development along that Dixie corridor. That way we'll have some sort of a substance to something substantive that we can look at to say, this can give us guidance. We would do that for, when you look at development in a lot of the other districts, you have a theme, you have something that's going on, the people, they know exactly what it is that they'd like to do. That has not happened in my district. And this is not just for District 2, because if we're able to do this as a city, it's going to benefit the entire city. This is going to, when we talk about tax revenue, District 2 will be able to lend itself to the goals and objectives financially or monetarily to the city. But I don't want to keep thinking about this. I was talking to some people recently. Well, this would be a great idea. This is a great idea. We don't really have a path. The city has never provided a path, nor the guidance, and I think that a funded study will give us that. So I'm asking for that.
Anyone else? Okay. Mr. Santucci.
Thank you. And just to respond to some of the questions and comments, in terms of the increase in per capita income, that's definitely a goal to be housed within economic development, but it certainly reaches much further than just the reaches of what Chris can obtain, obviously. And so that's really probably a good citywide metric for us, as it also has to deal with community development as well. It can deal with, our ability to build infrastructure, so many different things. So point well taken, and we'll look at that. Although, yes, it's probably a great goal to be housed in economic development. We'll look at trying to hone that in. And in terms of the Dixie business residential corridor, excuse me. That's something that I've had some serious conversations with planning, economic development, community development. We all recognize the potential of the area, however, that it's been very stagnant for a very long time. Each has a set-aside amount of dollars, not to do necessarily a specific study, but to put in dollars towards business recruitment and try to create some sort of acceleratory project that could help be a catalyst for that area. And so we're looking at those sorts of things. Outside of that, you also have to look at, as I just mentioned, our ability to create the infrastructure for businesses to develop in that area. And so we know that we're dealing with some Dixie Highway street improvements to try to, if you build it, they will come type of mentality, along with the fence that we discussed yesterday, that will help beautify the area and hopefully bring in some, allow that area to be redeveloped in a very appropriate way for the community.
Well, if you look at the beach, for instance, I think those things that you said are good, but we also have to go above that. I'd like to see some hard data about an area. Dixie Highway is probably the last big area in the city where we can get some really good growth. Last big area. And you wouldn't really start a lot of businesses on the beach unless there was some kind of data. People look at a study. Here's what will work. Here's where we're going. I want the same thing for District 2. I want some hard data. What does it look like for a true economic plan? The things that you said are good, but we can do better.
I think the information that we got from the Urban Land Institute, when we did that a few years ago, provided us some information and some insight on Dixie Highway, along really citywide, but they did focus, I know, on the Pioneer Grove area and the Dixie Highway corridor. No, we tried to do it 10 years ago, and that didn't go anywhere. So it's nice to be able to figure out what the plan is, because there's some unique challenges there that are not your usual just open parcels of land over there, because of lot size. So it should be interesting. Okay. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Real quick, Eric, just I'm sorry to, just so the commission is aware, although Commissioner Hudak is not with us tonight, just so you're aware, he has received these presentations as well, and/or will receive some of them a little bit when he returns. So he is hearing the same information you are.
Okay, good evening. Eric Power, Director of Planning and Development Services. I have with me Steve Graham, our Assistant Director for Development Services. So to go over some of our accomplishments for the 2019 year, and just to say that, Planning and Development Services is 3 separate divisions: planning, code compliance, and building services. So I am going through those sort of department by department. We are continuing the comprehensive code review process. This past fiscal year, we've brought 9 code changes to you. We probably will have a couple more before the end of the fiscal year. Our rezoning efforts to the county's annexed areas, as you're familiar, that there are thousands of parcels of land in the city that have a Broward County zoning designation. When the city annexed those properties, they were not rezoned correctly. So we are in the process of going through that. This past year, it was a collaborative effort through multiple departments to research all of those parcels, incorporation documents, to combine those, to put them into GIS formats, to have them reviewed by the attorney's office so that we can actually begin strategizing the correct plan to move forward. So it's been a long research project, but now we're actually on the path to moving through this process. We did obtain the online partner for vacation rental ordinances. We did complete the Hillsboro Boulevard Complete Streets project. We did create the landscape manual, and we performed walking audits for the Dixie Highway and the Hillsboro Power Line intersections. Regarding code compliance, we created the citation process, began the registration and enforcement of vacation rentals. The new code brochure and door hangers were created and are in use, and code compliance inspectors have attended over 35 HOA meetings and commission or district meetings. And regarding building services, so JM Families Phase 1 has been a very large scope project for the city for building services. It's pretty much all consuming at this moment. That is a large project for us. Indigo Station has just received their first COs, and they're moving forward. That's the Deerfield Station project. We have attended Century Village Association meetings and held contractor meet and greets to discuss the building permit process. We created the What Needs a Permit flyer for Century Village, and we have essentially increased the value of construction for this past year to almost $1 billion for the city. For upcoming fiscal goals for the planning department, again, we're going to actually, this year, we anticipate to complete the comprehensive code review process. We have about 9 more code changes we'd like to bring forward to you over the course of the next year. Major development projects such as Vista Clara and Rivertown Square. We will continue the Complete Streets implementation plan, begin to rezone the county annexed areas. We will also begin the evaluation appraisal report, or the EAR. This is a process that every 7 years the state requires every municipality and county to go through to update the comprehensive plan for any required changes. This is an all-encompassing task. It includes environmental services, parks and recreation. The plastic straw ban awareness and marketing is currently moving forward. Records to prove it, physical ones, and we need to put those in digital format in order for us to maintain those, to have those code changes adopted in the fall of this year. And the changes that the county will require the cities to do will be coming forward to you in the next year. Regarding code compliance for next year, we're looking to add some administrative support to increase customer service. We are having customer service training programs for code compliance inspectors. We're using an active voicemail program. So one of our wider complaints obviously has been that people do not get to their code officer, their code inspector, when they want to. Active voicemail, when they dial the number, it will give them a prompt. Instead of wanting to speak to the person at the desk, they actually will have the ability to directly reach out to the inspector's cell phone. As you know, our inspectors spend most of their day out in the field. They're not actually in the office to take a phone call to meet someone in person. So this will be an opportunity, if they're making a phone call, to actually get to an inspector right away. Plastic straw ban enforcement will be a major issue for this upcoming year. And of course, registration of vacation rentals is an ongoing process. Regarding building services, so I'll speak about this in just a little bit, but the creation of the building fund, we are going to move forward. Those plans go from department to flow. All these plans can be reviewed at the exact same time from everyone's desk, which will certainly speed up our upcoming $1,000 or 7%. On to the planning budget. So this is a reduction this year of about 9.4%. From the personal services section, and again, I'll elaborate this in just a moment, but 30% of director and assistant director salaries and benefits will now be allocated to the building fund. So as we are the directors of these three departments, we do spend approximately a third of our time dealing with planning, building services, and code compliance. And this further on, the removal and reductions of the following items were projects that the city has, that planning has completed that are no longer need to be funded for the next year. Moving on to code compliance operating budget. There is a request for a new position for administrative assistant, which would essentially be a front desk face for someone who physically walks into the office to speak and deal with someone from code compliance. And then the nuisance abatement is recognized as a separate fund. Just to go back on what this is, in 2010, the City Commission adopted a nuisance abatement program. And that program essentially, when something happens where you need to board up a house, mow a lawn, do something to a pool, the city performs those services, but the city bills back that property owner for those services. And those funds are collected. It's taken some time, but those funds are actually accrued now to about $82,000. So in this upcoming year, the nuisance abatement fund will actually be drawn from those amounts, as opposed to being the general fund, which it has been over the last few years. So that's why there's that reduction. It is possible that in the future, we may ask for general fund dollars to fund this program, but that's what we're asking for this year. We believe that we'll be able to move forward with this being part of a separate fund. And then, actually that's it, sorry. Building services.
I'll probably just take this slide from Eric to explain it a little bit in terms of what we talked about on the first night. But on the first night, we did talk about the creation of the building fund, and that's what this is here. And as he talked about, a third of the salary for the director and the assistant director is in there, as well as the positions of 2 of the fire inspection staff as they solely do plans review services. The one thing I do want to point out, because I think it's important, is that you look at the increase in the operating expenses and just realize that when you're looking at that increase, it's not an increase necessarily in operating expenses. What it is the projected building revenue that we believe we're going to generate in this fiscal year. So what that means is economic development for the city. And remember that the building fund is created so that at the end of the fiscal year, the revenue generated from the building permit process is the same as the expenses for that fund. That's how that fund has to statutorily operate. So this is actually, from my perspective, a very good thing to show that we've got a lot of good development going on in the city. And that's about what we project in terms of the building activity that we'll see through the building department.
So just to elaborate, thank you, David, I appreciate that. In reality, the percentage increase this year is a 13% increase over what the fiscal 18's actual budget, actual revenues were. So it does seem like it's a large number. I think that one of the reasons why it was such a high jump is that we didn't really expect for Valeros, Crystal Lake to come in as quickly as they did. So we're very happy that they did, but that was one of the major projects that moved forward this year. JM Family obviously has a phase 2 that'll be coming forward. And the other projects that we have, major development projects we have, I mentioned Vista Clare and Rivertown Square. So we actually project that the next year will be, if not the same, slightly higher. And that is also increased by the number of permits we received. In fiscal 17, we had about approximately 5,600 permits, or around 460 permits per month. In 18, we had a little more than 7,000 permits, or 591 per month. And in this particular year, we're tracking to be almost at 7,000 again. And for future considerations for the department, the Transportation Projects Working Group is an interdepartmental team that we've been doing between Planning Development Services, Community Development, and Environmental Services, where we're working together on what are the best ways to use the penny tax, as well as some other transportation funding dollars that we're looking to get from the state and the federal government. And that is some recommendations we'll probably be bringing forward to you in the upcoming years. Pioneer Grove infrastructure improvements, the adoption of the recommendations from the year, the evaluation appraisal report we spoke about, and then a possible ongoing discussion for additional code compliance inspectors. And thank you. If you have any questions.
I think all of this is good, and it obviously is going to elevate our city to the next level. But here again, transportation project, Pioneer Grove infrastructure, you can see Dixie Highway Corridor is left out of that. And so we got to really think about this and get it going. Could you go back to the code compliance slide, please? Okay, we have administrative support to increase customer service. We need to take the two out of there and say that's going to be a definite. We must increase customer service. How customer service is related, especially from the perspective of code, will determine how successful the program is. The biggest complaint that I've gotten, with code is how the people are addressed. If a person makes $30,000 a year, you make $80,000 a year, you make $350,000 a year. If there's a need for code to be there, the tone, the attitude, and whatever the objectives ought to be exactly the same, no matter where you are. That must be recognized, must be dealt with. And that's the biggest complaint that I'm getting, is how people are talked to. And if we fail anywhere in the city in customer service, we have failed. How you treat people is important. How you talk to people is important. And in a small city experience, especially when you're looking at a code situation where the person understands that there could be a citation that could be issued. The other thing is, in this customer service, we must realize the economics. Code compliance have to understand the economics of the area in which they are. There is an economic deficit in District 2, but there's no difference in the way that people feel about their property. People want to upkeep their property. They want to do that. But sometimes when code comes in and gives them that direction, this is where we want to go, you have to look at that situation and you have to help the people through the process. Unfortunately, everything is not the same. There are people that simply have more money than other people. So you can't tell me to put in grass when I don't have the money to. Maybe I want to, and maybe I can start budgeting to do that, and maybe I'll get it done. But at the time you want it done, I might not be able to do that. So we need to keep that in mind.
While we're on code compliance and talking about that, what is the
that is the reduction of the nuisance abatement program. Sorry, removing the nuisance abatement program into its own fund, and then the addition of that customer service person.
Okay. Code compliance is a flat contract, right?
That's correct.
Okay, it's a flat contract. They're not paid by how many citations they put out or anything like that. It's a flat contract. You're suggesting to increase that, that would be a employee that would be employed by our privatized company, Calvin Giordano?
That's correct. So if funded, you're absolutely right. The contract is a flat rate for for very particular amount of employees. It's the contract only states you're allowed to have 1 supervisor, 5 inspectors, and 2 legal clerks. What would happen is if these dollars were funded through this year, staff would come back to the commission with an addendum to the contract for the additional person, similar to the way in which we did for the inspector for sustainable management.
Okay. And you think it's a personnel reason is why we have issues with customer service?
We're tackling it from many aspects. We do believe that is one of our largest issues,
Okay.
that we don't have someone at the front desk when an actual person walks in. And because our inspectors are in the field for most of the day, it's very difficult to man that desk.
And the rate they're charging us is $75,000 for an administrative assistant position?
Yes.
Okay. And when is our contract up with Calvin Giordano?
It would be in a year and a half.
Okay. So if it works out. The projected revenue, what was that dollar amount you gave again, Mr. Santucci? This is under the Building Services Fund operating budget?
You know, I think I said 4.7, but I was only looking at the operating expenditure, so I'm glad you're bringing that up, Mayor. It's actually 4.8 million.
Okay. With Building Services Fund, well, obviously that's another privatized department that we have. It's put out there. And statutorily, we're only allowed to charge basically what it takes to cover the cost of operating that. Okay. All right. Along the lines of what Commissioner Preston said, future considerations would certainly, I would hope, beyond Pioneer Grove infrastructure is the Dixie Highway corridor as well with that. Some of the other projects that are coming up are, we still have several other major projects, including one not far from here.
That's true.
That's something that you guys will be gearing up for and prepared?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Commissioner Parnas?
Yeah, a couple of things. I don't think anybody getting a summons is in a good mood. I don't care where you live. My district is mixed. We have people who are living on just Social Security, and we have people who can buy and sell apartments every day, and everything in between. I've been around with code enforcement officers. I have yet to find one to be rude. Whether it's an apartment that's overrun with rats and people are destitute, or they've come to an apartment that is well endowed with luxuries. They do their job. I have met with them because I've been crusading to improve my district as far as illegal dumping, putting out bulk on the wrong days, strewing garbage all over the place. And I've worked with them, and I do find them overall to be extremely courteous when issuing citations or whatever. So they're doing their job, regardless of income. If you're leaving your garbage out on Tuesday for a Friday pickup, you deserve a summons, whether you're rich or poor. Doesn't matter as long as the city stays clean and property values go up. I really feel strongly about that. We don't live in a junkyard. And I've had plenty of calls of people who have been given citations, because I ride my district every day, and I'm on a first-name basis with Mr. Peter, because we talk several times a week when I see something wrong. So they do their job. And I've yet to have a complaint that they would talk to rudely, abruptly, nastily. And I'm sorry, I don't care what district it is in the city. People break the law and need a citation, they should be given one, period. I never got a traffic ticket that I enjoyed. But the police were always polite when they handed me a citation over my life. It comes with the job.
Vice Mayor?
I think we've just established that Commissioner Parnas is a speeder.
20 years.
Listen, code's in a no-win position. I have folks in my district that want to cite virtually every house in a neighborhood, and I have folks for the opposite end of the spectrum that want to cite virtually nobody in a particular neighborhood because of economic hardship, or they just feel it's an intrusion. So it's a definite balancing act that code has to walk on a daily basis. And since I've been elected, because I think we all get the calls, we all hear the complaints, and since I've been elected, I think we've made progress. One of the first things I did after being elected was hold a town hall on code compliance and listen to the residents in my district, how we can make the process better. One of the things that we talked about was just the form that they initially received had like a lot of legalese on it. It was very intimidating to them. And I think we've revised that form through the city attorney's office to make it more customer-friendly, but still having to put in the legalese where we have to. Some of the language is statutorily mandated and has to be on that form, and we cannot change it, and we can't get around that. But where we can manipulate the language, we have. We've implemented courtesy notices to the homeowners that are in bright orange and yellow placards that go on their doors, asking them to contact the code enforcement officer first. You can't make somebody call back, but when they do, it's my understanding that we try to work with the homeowners in those situations, that they might have extenuating circumstances that have led to their particular situation. So whatever we can do to make the process more customer friendly, I'm in support of. It's a tough battle, like I said. As Commissioner Parnas, noted, nobody wants to get cited, and once they are, they're almost automatically agitated from the get-go, and you're dealing with that, and they believe that they're right or they're wrong. So whatever we can do during that process to make code compliance as customer-friendly, or at least the perception of being customer-friendly, I think we should do that, and continually examine what we're doing, and because we can always do better, but I think we've come a long way, at least in the 2.5 years that I've been here. Now to specific questions. In your request for this year's budget, are you including the officer for the illegal dumping? Is that a carryover into this year? And what, I know we had an update before, but are you continuing to see success with that individual that would warrant their continuation in the department?
So while that wasn't an addendum to the contract, it's actually something that's paid by the Sustainable Management Department. And I don't oversee that position, and frankly, I don't think it's appropriate for me to comment on that.
So I can speak to that. Yes, so those dollars do come from solid waste, and that person does, although Calvin Giordano, an associate's employee, does work with very closely and is always in the office over in solid waste. Well, I shouldn't say that because they're always in the field. But that's actually been pretty successful, and as Chad has reported previously about the amount of bulk citations that we've had and the amount of criminal cases that they've actually had on bulk is attributed to that addition. So it's working out pretty well at this point, yes.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it was, because you read that Pompano Beach has had an increase in illegal dumping, so the folks from our city are just going across the border.
Now they're going back.
What about the vacation rentals? You put that as one of your goals. What success have we had in getting them registered this year? Do you have a percentage? I mean, I know we've identified a rough number, what the total is. Do you have a percentage of what
We're about at 80% compliance right now from our first round of letters. What our online partner identifies the properties. It's not always easy to identify the properties. The reality is our first round was 150 letters. We probably have at least 150 more that we believe to be vacation rental, but can't definitively prove it in order for us to go through the code compliance process. It's something that they have specialists that work on. It takes them more time to do, but it's something they're working on. We're actually looking at recycling the list, which is essentially we go through the list again, and anything that's new would be notified. We expect to do that in August. We're going through that process. We want to be completely done within 12 months of when we started. We want to be able to that process. We say we've attacked all of these cases either through compliance, where they've come in and complied on their own, or in which they've been cited by code. So that's where we're at right now. So we're really in our second phase, and it's in about the 6th month.
So if 150 letters have gone out, and there's 150 more, that means there's roughly 300 total in the city? I thought that number was a lot higher.
It is higher. It is higher.
I thought there was like 300 on Commissioner Miller's street alone.
We know that number to be higher. The problem is it's very difficult to verify all of them correctly. In fact, Steve and I were just on a call with our partner earlier this week, in which they've indicated that there's a new scheme essentially in vacation rental processes where people are fishing off of your site. So, I have a vacation rental, I post it on VRBO or Facebook or one of those places, and someone comes and takes my exact same site and adds $5 more, and they just change the address slightly. And one of the things that that's actually doing is it's messing up our ability to recognize which ones are real, because these aren't real, but they're coming up in our system as being real. So it's a lot of work from our online partner, which is, I think, one of the real benefits of having them to do this work for us, and the amount of time it takes for them to truly identify it, so that we can provide that citation and then prove beyond a shadow of a doubt to the magistrate, if it comes to that they are actually a vacation rental.
You'd have to be pretty motivated to do that fishing experiment, as you say. I would think most people just want to rent out their homes and would use the old-fashioned ways of Airbnb and these other, that to me would be the low-hanging fruit to attack those first, the ones that we have completely can identify.
When we first looked at this process about a year and a half ago, we identified 17 sites where vacation rentals are possible. There's over 50. It's amazing. It's amazing how many sites there are, and it just keeps changing.
So the compliance rate now is roughly 80%, you said, and what is the goal, 100%?
Absolutely. But that's always a moving target, because you'll always have new people that come forward. So, our goal is to go through this process and have all the compliance of everyone who we know to be a vacation rental, and then we would be recycling that list on a regular basis, and anyone who pops up as new would receive a letter.
All right, thank you.
Eric, perhaps you can, I'll set up a meeting with Master Management, you and I. Whether they're vacation rentals or not, they need certain identification in the village. Maybe they can open up or look at the files and identify which are short-term. And would that be a help?
So remember that is the difference between what is a vacation rental versus what is a long-term rental.
Understood.
And what we find in Century Village is that most of them are actually what would be considered a long-term rental, longer than that 3 to 6 month process.
I know of a few buildings that are renting by the weekend,
Okay, yeah.
so perhaps we can,
Sure, absolutely.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I want to make it clear, very clear. Commissioner Parnas, you said you were passionate. I'm no less passionate. That's number one. And number two, you said they do their job. You can only speak to what they do when you were with them. You don't know what they do when the person that called me, you wasn't there. You don't know. So their complaint is legitimate to me. Now, if you were there, then you can speak to it. But when you say they do their job, you should say they do their jobs when I'm with them, because you have no idea what's happening when you're not with them.
Thank you. Next, we have Community Development and Vicki Placid-Picard.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Vicki Placid-Picard. I'm the Community Development Director. And to my right is John Salas, our Community Development Supervisor. Good evening. I'll start with our current 2019 achievements. It's broken up into sections. As you know, we just completed our second year of Read and Pals and Tutor Mate program, and everyone knows the volunteer component of it, where we assisted, worked with 30 students. But in addition to that, that school received over 877 books to share with the first graders and the second graders. In addition to that, one of the things that we do for the schools is each school attends the JA BizTown, so volunteers from the city goes out and support the schools when it's their turn to do the simulated cities at JA BizTown. As you know, you recently approved the Youth Advisory Council. One of the things we started was the high school internship program. There are actually 2 high school interns in the city right now. We partnered with Broward Schools, who had a grant, so they actually are paying for the students to be here. One's in the city manager's office and in community development. And then also, through the Education Advisory Board, we started the Student Scholar Athlete of the Month program. Regarding grants, for our competitive grants, so far to date, we've received $752,000, and there's about $4.3 million outstanding. We're waiting for our notifications. Hopefully, I think all the grants we should receive responses by the end of August. So we're pretty excited about that, and I'm pretty confident that we should get a large portion of that. Entitlement grants, we received $964,000, and this includes our CDBG and our SHIP and Home program. As you know, for the legislative appropriations, we received funding for 2 projects. The Memorial Park, as Brand Hilder Richardson Knowles Memorial and Historic Cemetery, and for the Center for Active Aging for their Alzheimer's program. For housing, we assisted 6 home buyers with purchase assistance, assisted 10 households with the home repair, and currently 7 projects are under construction. The South Florida Community Land Trust, you may recall when we approved the extension probably about a year and a half ago. No, it was actually last summer. And they're nearing completion. We anticipate completion to be mid to the end of August for the 6 homes. And the goal is to make sure that our Deerfield Beach residents do become recipients of these homes. So we've been working with them and holding numerous workshops. And these workshops have been pretty packed with our residents. And this will be done through a lottery process. For community outreach, earlier this year, we partnered with the Wayne Barton Food Distribution Center, where we provided groceries to over 350 individuals, and we also partnered with our local organizations where we had over 60 volunteers for that event. The bike giveaway, Waste Connection donated 60 bikes to the city, so we worked with our local schools and BSO to identify students in the community in need of bikes. The Book and a Toy program received over 200 books and toys that were donated, and these books and toys were distributed at the holiday ice cream social. So our 2020 goals. One of our major goals is to complete a grant management policy and procedures. As the city begins to receive more funding, it's important that we're in compliance. We understand the award, maintenance, reporting, payments, reimbursements, and also closeout. So we'll be putting that together for all our departments. Community Development Block Grant, our 5-year consolidated plan and analysis of impediments, it's due next August. And this is a year-long process for community outreach, working with our local nonprofit organizations to identify what our 5-year goal will be when we write our annual action plan for projects. Our property disposition policy, this is a project we've been working with Economic Development and Planning and Development Services. Hopefully we should be bringing this to you, to the commission, but basically what it is, there are currently no mechanism in place to dispose of city property over the value of $750,000. In addition to that, an affordable housing ordinance. We did receive funding from a developer. Anytime there's any type of development that has to go through Broward County, the the county has a strong stance for affordable housing. So due to that, there was funding that the city received, but we don't have a policy program in place. So we want to do that in the event that additional funding does come, that we're prepared and has a program, and that this funding does not go to Broward County, but remains in the City of Deerfield Beach. Also, the expansion of the Reading Pals program, we will be expanding to Deerfield Park Elementary, and we'll be reaching out to the community for various participants, and we'll be holding training for that. Through the Education Advisory Board, we'll be creating a Academic Achievement Award program. We're also going to be partnering with the Deerfield Beach Middle School through a Civics 101 program. Basically, our staff will be working with the students, and the students will identify an issue, and the group will work together to come up with possible projects. Like maybe they can help us with our straw ban, or even our recycling, some of the ideas that we're working with some of the departments. And then Broward College reached out to us. Most recently, Broward College started a Broward Up program, which Broward College believes that there's unlimited potential in our communities. So we'll be working with them to bring various resources to the city, and also non-traditional classes to the community. Our operating budget. For community development, there's a decrease, and for CDBG, what you'll see is any carryover. So our annual allocation for CDBG is $659,000. However, we have funding from previous years. Our goal is to reduce that and expand it to make sure that that number that you see is closer to our allocation. And then also I'll be discussing the community participation, which is projected to decrease by 5%. Personnel services, the 4% increase is just the personnel projections. And then our operating budget decreased. We have a new grant management system, and in the second year, the amount will go down. Also, we reduced funding for our community outreach programs. So just to quickly go through our community participation, what you have before you is the projects that have been awarded in the current year. Right now, for the new projects, the application period is open, so we're receiving applications. And the purpose of the program is to support a variety of local nonprofits that contribute to the public welfare of the City of Deerfield Beach. Once we receive the applications, each commissioner will receive a packet individually. Well, you have the opportunity to rate the projects we receive, and then that will come before the commission for you to move forward on the projects. For future considerations, as you know, our 2020 census is coming up, and the importance of making sure that our residents are counted, and this is funding that will affect the city for 10 years. So we want to make sure that we do outreach, and we do outreach with our residents, and everyone is counted. Increase city's visibility with state and federal agencies and delegation. Identify our state and federal legislative priorities. That's also very important. The threat of reduction or elimination of CDBG home and ship. The CDBG program is over 40 years, so each year there's the elimination that is going to be the last year, and as well as for a ship every year, we work with the state legislation on making sure that the Sadowski Act remains intact. And then also the impact of affordable housing. I mentioned previously that Broward County, they take a strong stance of affordable housing, and every couple of years they do an affordable housing needs assessment. So Deerfield Beach is a little unique in comparison to other residents, other communities in Broward County. Broward County's median income is $68,600. Our median is roughly $46,000. And so although our housing is a lower median than Broward County, our income also is not there. So that's important for us to take into consideration. That's it, if you have any questions.
Commissioner Preston, Vice Mayor.
Did I understand you to say that there was 350 families that received groceries?
Yes.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding. I need to go back to, let me find it here. I think it's the goals. Yeah. The goals. Yes. Now, out of the CDBG, I know that there have been funds that have been extracted to do sidewalk improvements or to put sidewalks in. I think that's something that the city ought to do and not out of the CDBG fund. Because, you know, whatever that total amount is, you could help a small business person's, you know, get a business going. Maybe we can do something educational with that money, but I know this, we can do something better than build sidewalks with it. Okay? So I think that's something the city ought to do and not be coming out of the CDBG funds, that we ought to deal with that, whatever it is, but make sure that the money that's in there is actually benefiting and trying to, the best with it is, with the limited funds that you have, is really uplifting the community, whether that's business-wise or educational-wise.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. One goal that I think that you should add to your list, that I'm a big believer in, is the maturity of the Education Advisory Board. I think they're roughly a year. You know, they had a hiatus for quite a while, and now they're back on. And so this new board has been there for a year. They had a little slow start finding their feet, and they have some accomplishments, you know, with the awards and recognitions that they're making to the City Commission. But now they need to really, you know, roll up their sleeves. I'm a huge proponent. Did I say huge? A huge proponent of better schools for Deerfield Beach. And I understand that we have only a piece of control over that, as, you know, does the school board and other agencies, but we need to maximize our piece. You know, I don't think we have any A schools in Deerfield Beach, and that's just not acceptable. And it's not only acceptable for our students, it's unacceptable for our economic development, because if you increase and make our schools better, the families will come, the economic development will come, and it will be a boon and a trickle down to our community. And so the better that the Education Advisory Board can get into the schools and meet with the school board and attend meetings and find out what are the true needs of the Deerfield Beach schools. What are we lacking? What do we need? What do we need to push a B school to an A school? What do we need to push a C school to a B school? And then leave it to the electeds to go to, you know, the other elected officials with the school board and promote those priorities. But if we don't know what those priorities and objectives are, it makes it very difficult for us. So the more that the EAB can mature this year, I think would be a big win for the commission and the city as a whole. Another thing that I'm a huge believer in, and you have it as future considerations, but I think you could also add it as a goal, is the increased, you know, visibility for the city of Deerfield Beach with state, federal, and you can add county, you know, agencies to that list as well. You know, this is a very active commission, and other cities notice that. And they know that Deerfield Beach is a player now, and they know that any meeting that they go to, a representative from Deerfield Beach is going to be there. And they see us, and they know that we're out there, and that is huge. And even if we're not, you know, at the forefront, everybody knows that Deerfield Beach is there. And you can't say that for very many cities in Broward County. In fact, the cities that are stumbling, Deerfield Beach has taken their place. And, you know, there was just the artificial reef this very week is just one small example of how our visibility has paid off. And I'm a huge proponent that we have to attend everything. The Broward League of Cities, the National League of Cities, not just within our city, you know, but all the events that go on around us as well. It is paying huge dividends, and we need to continue that. I would not stop. In fact, I would put, the foot on the gas pedal even further with these. Look at the $400,000 that we got from the state legislature. I thought we were cheated by another $400,000, but that's just sour grapes. But the more that we are out there, the more that we are going to get. I mean, no one's going to give it to you if you don't ask and you don't show up, and so I'm a huge proponent that we need to get out there and show up.
Commissioner Parnas?
If I may, I'd like to see our Educational Advisory Board spend more time with their representative on the school board, Noah Rupert, who in the last 2 years got a grant from the state, $250,000, to fix kids in Deerfield's teeth who can't afford it. We have had in the last, well, actually since she took over, there are no F schools in Deerfield Beach. There used to be. And now they've been upgraded and doing a better job. So I think the coordination of you working with her, because her heart is in Deerfield Beach. I was proud to be part of a committee in which we called District 7, where we met to see what could be done to work with the schools. I personally read at Park Ridge whenever I can to the kids, and they're very grateful. But I see the dedication of the teachers, the principals, to schools like Park Ridge, where even if the parents are inconsiderate and drop a kid off at 9 o'clock, that kid is given breakfast rather than just sent to a classroom with no breakfast and expecting the kid to learn. The school has adopted that, and I think that's great. And I think the job this committee has been doing and your department is really fine job. Yes, anything can be improved, and I'd like to see you continue to improve. But the fact that we have no F schools in Deerfield and that there is improvement, it's the way we have to continue, not let it slip back. We have to continue to grow and improve, and I think it can be done.
Thank you. Question regarding the competitive grants. You said we have approximately $4.3 million still that we're waiting to hear from. Is that waiting to hear whether or not we are awarded it, or that we are waiting for them to actually give us the money?
For waiting to hear if we're awarded.
Okay, so we applied for this many competitive grants. Okay, and obviously that would change things a bit, I would imagine, in your budget, should we be awarded these grants.
Well, it wouldn't be my budget. We work with all city departments on these projects, so it would be a variety of city departments.
So it's citywide.
Yes.
So you basically are the ones that put that together when it comes to the grants and put it out there, but that's distributed citywide?
Yes.
Excellent. Do you have a goal to try to go out for more of those for this upcoming year?
We do have a goal in our performance measurements, and I apologize, I do not remember what that goal is. I
That's okay.
apologize.
We'll torture you later about that. One of the things that you have in your achievements with the food distribution, and I was one of the volunteers out there for that, one thing that, a suggestion that I'm going to make is a goal for this department, and I don't want to add an unfunded goal to you, but I don't know how much funding you would really need for this. But one need that I see in this city, and I had a discussion with Gwen Clark-Reed last night about it, is we really need what I would call as a community assistance program, which allows us to identify a list of vulnerable residents within our city. When we did that food distribution at the Northeast Focal Point, while there was we recognized there was a huge need within the city, our problem was we could not get those people to that location. And some of them walked. Some walked all the way from Benai Breath, all the way down near Oviedo McKeithen Park, and walked all the way to and this woman was 93 years old, and she walked all the way to that food giveaway. She got 2 big bags of food and had to walk all the way back, and it was about a good balmy 85, 86 degrees that day, hauling it back. We ended up driving her in my truck home, but never been kissed by a 93-year-old woman before, but I did that day. It was outstanding. But one of the things we identify there with that problem is that we can have these events, but we don't have a way of finding out how we can get the people to it. And I will give the staff a tremendous amount of credit because they did hustle that day, recognized the issue, got transportation to bring people from the Palms back and forth, because they got there, but they didn't know how to get home with the food that they were given. The other thing is when we had a hurricane, we noticed during Irma, we had the pod that was done at Quiet Waters Park. We had a lot of supplies, but the people that needed it couldn't leave where they were at. So they might have been grandparents, they were watching their grandkids, or they didn't have power, they didn't have vehicles. So while there was a need for these supplies, and having hand delivered them to some of these houses, and it was basically a word of mouth effort, you realize that these are people, this is not a matter of it was a luxury to have some, ice was such a commodity, it was unbelievable for them. There's a dire need, so maybe if we could come up with a list of the vulnerable residents, so when we have an emergency, when we have one of these food giveaways or a bike giveaway or something like that, and it could be working with some of the faith-based organizations, the church community, in certain areas, HOAs, whatever it is, that we can compile that list so we can develop a plan on how we can distribute this sort of stuff and really get the most bang for our buck and have an impact on the most vulnerable population in our city. So if we could think about that. The relationship with Broward College, I encourage you to work with the Economic Development Council. I know there's a lot of strong relationships between Broward College and members of that committee. So I encourage you to maybe have discussions with them regarding that. I completely agree with the Education Advisory Board. Look, I don't like spending city dollars to an agency that brings in a whole hell of a lot of money. And as you heard my tirade the other night, I'm not real a big fan of the school board and what they're doing with their money and how and the job they're doing in our Deerfield Beach schools. But I think there are ways that we can, and I agree with you, Vice Mayor, and really all of us. The Education Advisory Board is a step in the right direction to try to get an impact on there, and the reading programs and the programs that your department participate in are making a difference. And if we could expand that and invest in that, that would be tremendous. The other thing is when it came to the community participation, are we anticipating, so you're saying we only gave out to 6 last year? Is that a complete list?
So, you want to do it? Oh, I wasn't sure if Dave was going to respond. I apologize. So
I can speak on it, it's fine. So these are the ones that would be classified as community participation grant recipients. There are a couple others that one resides with the Center for Active Aging, which would be the Area-wide Council on Aging.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have another one which resides in Parks and Recreation for,
The Arboretum.
oh, thank you, the Arboretum as well.
Friends of the Arboretum.
Yes, thank you.
What about the Boys and Girls Club?
Boys
Did
and
we
Girls
give any
Club?
funding to them at all last year?
No.
Okay. We just work with them when they do like Dunn's Run, which
Yes,
something that
absolutely.
directly benefits them. Okay. So you're anticipating this year that that dollar amount's not going to change. You budgeted $100,000 for these programs?
We budgeted 95,000,
Uh-huh.
which is a 5% decrease.
Okay.
So,
what you're currently looking
Oh,
at
I'm
is
looking at the awarded, I'm
what's
sorry.
awarded. And
Thank you.
right now, the application period is open, so we're receiving applications for the next budget year for 2020. So we don't
Okay,
have
so-
that list.
So there is a $5,000 reduction is what you're
Yes.
looking to do there. Okay.
and just to be clear, Mayor, when it comes to the athletic organizations, they're not included in the community participation grant program. They're in the parks budget. I view them differently than being part of the community participation grant program. The sports policy that we'll be bringing to you in the future it will reflect that, and so they are funded in the parks budget, and they will speak on that when they come up.
Okay. Do we know what that $5,000 that goes to Deerfield Beach High School is used for?
Yes, it's for their band program with their various traveling events or when they have any coming to events at the city, as well as last year included some of their uniforms.
Okay, that's for their band, you said?
Yes, the Deerfield
The
Beach
band.
High School Band.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mayor.
Yes, Commissioner, sorry.
I'm really happy when I hear that there are programs to feed children. But I will say this, I don't know that any parent is just so careless as to say that I have food in my house, but I'm not going to feed my child. That doesn't happen. If that happens, if where we see children that need food, let's face it, most often it's because the people don't have money. I personally took on 2 kids when they were probably in the 6th grade, and through the years, I just mentored them, never asked them for anything, never asked the parents for anything. You know, an investment in our children is an investment in our community. What's the return? The return is that in those formative years, they don't do something stupid, that they actually can go get an education and come back to the community and be functional. 3 weeks ago, about then, whenever it was the graduation for Deerfield Beach High School, I went to the graduation and I watched those kids walk across the stage and get their diploma. And so we need to remember that there's a lot of people that simply, if the kids are not being fed, and I'm glad that we have those programs in place, parents just don't have the money, unfortunately. There's a lot of people that are just one paycheck away, a lot of us that could affect us. One major illness, one big bill that you didn't count on could drastically change the income in your home. And some people it affects more than others. And when you have no money, it's sad to think that you cannot feed your child, but I don't think it's because they're mean, or they just don't, it's just one of the conditions that we have to deal with. Thank God that we have programs implemented that a hungry child can be fed.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Commission. Before I hand it over to Donna, just briefly, not mentioned but included in the community development budget is $15,000 for census marketing. So just wanted to
Okay.
let you guys know that.
Next victim.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commission. My name is Donna DeFranz. I'm the Director of the Department of Active Aging. I'm honored to be here this evening. Would like to introduce you to Sherry Wilson, our Assistant Director. Also happy to see Marie Policar here, our Case Manager, as well as Jane Hafer, our Preschool Manager. On behalf of the Department of Active Aging, some of our fiscal year 19 achievements, as Vicki illustrated via community development, the Area Agency on Aging, your assistance, as well as assistance of our caregivers and individuals that we've served in the past, as well as current with Alzheimer's disease. We were able to restore and advocate the $195,150 through the State of Florida Alzheimer's Disease Initiative. And for those of you who saw what the governor vetoed on Friday, we were happy we were not in that. So thank you for your help with that. We also, this current year actually, secured increased reimbursement from the Irving League for college tour transportation, of which we're working with the Deerfield Beach High School students and transporting them on Saturdays to various locations, as well as to the school, to get them prepared and ready for college. We're working with them right now. Hopefully, as of October 1, we can possibly even receive $40 per hour. That increase is about $3,500 for this current year. The third goal is the fact that we secured a grant with the National Council on Aging and Retirement Resource Foundation for staff training and development. We had 7 of our team members that received the Behavioral Health and Certificate in Aging program through Boston University, 19 hours of webinar training dealing with suicide in the elderly, substance abuse and alcoholism, as well as mental health in the elderly. So congratulations to our team members that achieved that. Another achievement that we received 3 different vehicles. One was a sedan, to bring individuals to medical appointments, such as for chemotherapy, radiation, as well as dialysis, which is a Toyota Corolla at approximately $16,000, and then 2 new buses through, one is a 14-passenger bus with 2 wheelchair tie-downs, another one is a 16-passenger bus with 2 wheelchair tie-downs, and that was a total of about $208,000. Those are through FDOT grants that we secured with a 10% match by the Northeast Focal Point CASA, which helps to upgrade our fleet. Fiscal year goals for 2020. Of course, we want to continue to maintain and implement Area Agency on Aging grants, acquire new grants from various organizations and sources such as the Community Foundation of Broward, United Way, and other foundations. We will continue to work on an action plan to minimize the impact on our service delivery and operations due to the future construction, and we thank you for that capital improvement project with the new Center for Active Aging. We're also looking to leverage use of the transportation surtax to assist with transportation, capital, and operating costs, which we're anticipating as of October 1 of this year, approximately $65 per hour, which will cover the operation along with the fuel and the maintenance. And then final goal will be to create ongoing new partnerships with volunteer groups and schools for mentorship training programs such as with Deerfield Beach High School, FAU, FIU. We currently work with Kaiser University occupational therapy assistant students, FAU health administration, and social work students.
Can you speak a little closer into the mic,
Oh,
Donna? I'm so
certainly,
sorry.
I'm sorry. The next slide is our operating budget as a whole for the Department of Active Aging, which we have a decrease of about $101,000 or 3.2%. I'm going to go through each of the different divisions within the Department of Active Aging in the next slide. This is a summary of the different divisions from administration, Center for Active Aging, Alzheimer's and Adult Services, child care, preschool, transportation, and non-departmental. Again, the decrease is approximately 3.2%. First division is the administration division, and under the administration division, we have approximately a $27,000 decrease from the current year budget, or 3.5%. We will be freezing the one vacant grants coordinator's position at approximately $63,745. Next division is the Center for Active Aging, the former senior center where life happens, learning, independence, friendship, and energy. We have a couple of different changes noted in this particular division, which will result in about $39,000 decrease, or 7.5%. We are freezing the vacant outreach coordinator's position at approximately $16,602. We're eliminating one of the vacant active lifestyle instructors, approximately $7,500, and we're also freezing one of those positions. We have a total of 4 of those positions. 2 of them are currently filled. We're also going to move one of the will call registered nurses to the Alzheimer's Adult Daycare Division and upgrade that will call position to a part-time position, which would be a negative $12,000. The third division under the Department of Active Aging is our Alzheimer's and Adult Day Services program. And what we're proposing is to eliminate the full-time program leader's position. We promoted Marie to become our new case manager. We're replacing the part-time licensed practical nurse at approximately $44,000 with 1 part-time certified nursing assistant, about $39,000, and we're going to add 1 part-time registered nurse to the Alzheimer's and Adult Daycare division from the Center for Active Aging division, which is about $31,000. And again, in this division, you'll see about a $69,000 decrease, which is approximately 8%. The next division is our preschool child care center. No significant changes here, but just to touch upon what was already discussed this evening, we do provide the children. We have approximately 20 children right now. School year, on average, we had 16 per day. We provide them with breakfast as well as lunch, and they receive the Gold Seal of Excellence Award again this year, as well as the Apple accreditation. Next slide is transportation. For our transportation division, as you know, we've had a couple different changes in that particular division. We are proposing to eliminate 2 will call drivers at approximately $27,000 because they're will call and they can't seem to work when we need them to work. We are also proposing, we've never had an overtime budget, but we are adding about $5,000 for an overtime budget. A slight increase in this particular division, primarily as we move the uniforms that they wear from the Center for Active Aging Senior Center to the Transportation Division, which is approximately $2,000 a year. This is an overall pie chart or slide as it relates to our budget revenue and the offset. As you know, we tried to secure grants and other resources and the fundraising by Northeast Focal Point Casa Board to balance our budget. Our budget, of course, is a little over $3 million. We are anticipating bringing in $1,892 approximately, and we are requesting $1.1 million from the City Commission, which is 62% of the budget we'll be bringing in through outside revenue, whether it be intergovernmental, charges for our services or miscellaneous sources.
Again, with the microphone, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm
That's
so
okay.
sorry.
You can actually move it a little closer to you, that might
Okay.
help. Thank you.
Well, I want to go back to that just for a minute. So the city's investment of 38% of our budget will bring a return of 62% of our budget based on this slide. Next slide, please. Future considerations beyond fiscal year '20. Of course, we do have the potential of state and federal government funding cuts, the increasing aging population and their increasing needs, maintaining our daily operations during the new building and construction, which certainly will create a challenge, but we will remain operational throughout the process. Increased cost recovery from Broward County for transportation through the transportation surtax, and then potential expansion of Express 1, which is our east and west route, to include a Saturday, as well as continuing to write grants through the Florida Department of Transportation for new transportation vehicles, so we do not have any capital expenses within our budget.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. If I could just expand a little bit with Donna on the expansion of the Express 1 route. So, as the budget was presented, the expansion of the Express 1 route is not in there. The expansion of the Route 1 and/or Route 2 to a Saturday has to be done, as we currently have the program where it's funded by Broward County, has to go through a process with Broward County where they have to verify the readership. We have to get petitions to ensure that the patrons who are actually using the route want it and that there's a desire and a need. And then from there, it would go into Broward County's budget, and then it would end up in their FY21. It'd be a program for FY21. When we learned about this, we missed that boat. However, we don't necessarily have to wait until FY21. If it's the will of the commission to bring one of the routes, and our recommendation would be to bring the Express 1 route, the east-west route, online for FY20. I think we're looking at an additional expense that would include 2 additional personnel. I think we said 2 part-timers?
1 part-time.
1 part-timer?
Correct.
But the additional expense for that 1 route and that 1 day would be an additional, would be south of $25,000. But it's something that we could do. Consider that the revenues that we have projected are based on the
$50 per hour,
Yeah,
and $200,000 coming from Broward County.
Yep.
And
And
we are anticipating $65 per hour.
Yeah, and so we have not, that has not happened yet. As Mayor, you know, when we met with the Mayor's Roundtable with Commissioner Fisher, and Gretchen spoke to us about the transportation surtax and dollars that would be coming for specifically transportation. There were a lot of details at that time. The details are getting clearer and clearer, and now we're being told, although there's no written agreement at this point, that we're likely to see about $65 per hour. So if we do get that increase would cover the cost, obviously, of this 1 route for us in the new year. But either way, it's doable.
Yeah, it would be, and I'm going to ask for the support of the commission on this, that we do cover that for this upcoming year. I've talked about this now going back, I want to say January, February, with the then city manager and speaking to him about that. At no point did we say we needed to start a petition and find out the need and find out what we had. As a Matter of fact, you were there at one of the meetings that we had over at the Palms, and this is about having Saturday service, Saturday expansion of transportation for the Palms, because there's a need there. We can make that happen, but if we can at least float ourselves for to start this immediately, and then get Broward County on board for it, I would ask the commission support to be able to do that. Okay. I don't know if we have to vote. I think it's just a suggestion that we'd like to see it in the budget. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Preston?
Can we go back to the operating budget slide where it says administration and, no, the one that has Center for Active Aging? There's a figure that I'm looking for, 478,952. That's it. Okay. Well, I'm looking at a different slide. Okay, this is the slide that I'm looking at. But fine, I can make my point from there. So, we see a reduction. Is that correct?
Correct, for the Center for Active Aging.
So we're looking at 478,000, correct?
Correct.
How many people do we have involved in the Center for Active Aging?
We have approximately 12 employees.
How many?
12.
12?
12 employees.
Okay.
Can you pull up the exact ones?
I'm talking about clients.
Oh, clients, I'm sorry. As it relates to clients, on an average, we see about 260 at the Center for Active Aging.
Okay.
206, excuse me. 206.
206. And the reason that I would like to see that number larger, and I've been asking some people to get involved in our active aging, and they seem to not know anything about it. I don't know why, but every time I tell somebody, you need to get involved in the active aging, they want me to tell them about it. So somewhere there's a communication gap that we need to fix.
Okay.
I don't know where it is, but it exists. And so I'd like to see that people know of all the great things that we're doing here in the city, and we must urge them to get involved. But a lot of people that are out there just don't know exactly what they can get involved in when it comes to the Center of Active Aging. And so, go ahead.
We currently go out and speak at all the government housing facilities about our services, whether it be the Emergency Home Energy Assistance Program. We do have a small food pantry, as well as discuss our services and programs. We recently did a mailing as it relates to the different types of transportation services that we offer, the senior transportation through the Community Development Block Grant, as well as our door-to-door service, and of course Express 1 and 2.
Okay.
So we will continue to outreach to the community at various organizations and groups.
Well, presently with the people that we have, 206, with the $478,000 that's proposed, that would actually work out to about $2,300 per person. And so,
Commissioner, I think you make a good point. We have extensive outreach, and Don does a great job with it. I think we just need to get a little bit more creative, and maybe through the Office of Public Affairs and Marketing, we can get together and find some new ways to promote the center, and perhaps maybe even attend one of your district meetings or whatever is your
great idea.
preference.
Okay, thank you.
And the homeowners associations, that's our next goal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for your time.
Okay, last but not least, we have Parks and Recreation. I'll put no pressure on them by saying that we are on schedule up to this point.
And I appreciate that.
Very good.
I promise I won't take more than an hour and a half, 2 hours tops. So. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commissioners, I'm excited to present my very first budget for the City of Deerfield Beach. I've been in Deerfield Beach for 2 months. I have found an outstanding staff, excellent facilities, a very supportive city manager, supportive city commission. Some of my key staff are sitting behind me tonight. I appreciate them. I did not ask them to come, but they came to support me.
Mr. Boozer, don't be nervous. You're gonna do well. You got a great name, by the way. I like your name.
Thank you. I do want to thank my staff for coming to support me tonight and this department. Some of our 2019 achievements were employee development. We have staff training and certifications. We have 2 new lifeguard instructors. We have 15 first aid CPR certified staff. We have 1 new aquatic facility operator. We have 62 crowd management certified staff. And I'm proud to say we have 1 new certified parks and recreation professional. We've enhanced the overall aesthetics of our beach, ball fields, and parks. We have 4 ADA accessible swings that we've added, 2 at Crystal Heights, 1 at John M. McKeithen, and 1 at Constitution Park. 2 new bike racks installed at the beach. We've refurbished the OMRC football field. We've resodded past Palom along the main beach parking lot on 4th Street. The East Hillsboro medium irrigation project from Dixie Highway to US 1 has been completed. We completed split rail fencing at the villages of Hillsboro, and we've conducted Crystal Heights Central playground upgrades. We've increased the international fishing pier revenues by 8.4%. A lot of that is due to the T on the pier was not open last year, so we're seeing some great increases there, and also the Pompano Pier is still closed. We've also added a few items at the Pro Shop, and we've increased some sales there as well. We've reduced the summer camp operations cost by 20%. The summer camp at Quiet Waters was rebranded and utilized by the Broward County School Board instead of us running it this year. Some of our 2019 achievements that are in progress, the implementation of the main track park maintenance software, park and facility maintenance software. It'll improve our operating systems, tracking maintenance repairs. We still have ongoing new improvements at playgrounds and community centers. Playground and shade upgrades are continuing, going to happen underway now at Hillsboro and at Constitution Park. One of those shade structures will be going right out here. So the Johnny Tigner Center, community input coming soon. We're in the draft design phase of that project. That's an exciting project that I can't wait to get started. The Brandhilda Richardson Knowles Memorial Park and Historic Cemetery. As of today, this week, we've installed the Veterans Memorial, lots of sod and lots of irrigation. In the last few weeks, we've got new lights installed there as well. So that is an outstanding project. It's going to really anchor the future south end of that Pioneer Grove project. So I'm very excited about that. Pickleball courts at Southwest 19th Avenue Park, finalizing the contract now. Phase 2 of the Constitution Park Arboretum Rainforest is now underway. We've increased our special event sponsorships. Year to date, we're at $52,000. That's $24,750 in cash and $27,250 in in-kind contributions. We've enhanced customer service across the board. We've implemented one of the examples of that implementation of the beach parking stickers sold at the recreation centers. A little bit more on customer service. We've one of customer service. The only thing we have, our product is customer service. My philosophy for customer service is really we're the only department in the city government that people actively seek out to participate in our programs. If you're dealing with a police officer, typically there's a problem. If you're dealing with the fire department, there's been a problem. Although the city manager's a great guy, nobody really wants to go talk to the city manager. So, but we take that seriously, that people want to seek us out. And one of the things that we're going to be doing is special training over the next year on customer service. Our department has 53 full-time, 66 part-time, and a large seasonal staff. That's a lot of opportunities to touch people's lives. So we deal with probably the largest segment of the community of any department, and we take that seriously. And I stress my staff to take that seriously. 2020 goals. I'm going to start the initial phase of CAPRA accreditation. CAPRA stands for the Commission of Accreditation of Parks and Recreation Agencies, and it's through the National Recreation and Park Association. I've been honored and lucky enough to lead my last 2 departments through that process. Accreditation is really the best way to demonstrate to your citizens that you have all the policy and procedures in place to provide that service to every citizen of your community. It's essentially an audit. There's 151 standards that you have to meet. It's national recognized standards. It ensures that we have an established, maintained policy and procedures. I've heard my colleagues in other cities call it it's the kind of the good housekeeping seal of approval for your Parks and Recreation Department. Currently, there are 10,000 Parks and Recreation agencies in the United States. There's currently only 167 CAPA accredited agencies. 23 of those are in Florida, and I'm going to start the ball rolling with your permission and your guidance to be the 24th in the state of Florida. People ask a lot of times, what's the value of accreditation? The value of accreditation is really the process of accreditation. It's taking every one of my staff through the process. It's every policy and procedure we have in the department. It's working with every department in the city. So we've had, in my past cities, I've had policy and procedures get implemented in different departments, police departments, fire departments, HR departments, and really just they see the value of accreditation. It really helps the citywide. So. Other goals for 2020, replacement of the Constitution Park playground. I've looked at existing playgrounds. It's probably in the biggest need right now that I've seen, unless I'm missing one. We do have 53 parks, so I do apologize. I've been here 2 months. So if I've missed one and you know of one, please let me know. So, Parks and Recreation community input. Marty Popelski, Pioneer Park, Tigner Center. My philosophy is, again, that we are the only department that people seek out. I need the community input. I've got to have input from the community. I need to know what they want, what they need. I need to know what we're doing good. I need to know what we're not doing so good. And when it comes to a facility, I want to know what those residents want at that facility. When we build a facility, it's a 30 to 50 year commitment to that facility and that community that facility goes into. So I always say that, a kid that has a birthday party in a new recreation center could have a graduation party, have a wedding reception, have a retirement party in that same center. So it's important that we get community input and the community's involvement in those plans. So we're residing the Pass Palm at the beach, as I said earlier, from the International Fishing Pier to the main beach parking lot. This will complete the complete side replacement. That Pass Palm really needs to be replaced about every 3 or 4 years. We want to increase daytime community center programming. We'd like to, of course, always increase special event sponsorships. The Tigner Center, during that construction, if we start this year, I want to maintain the operation continuity of construction. If that means we use the gym, if that means if I bring in portables, I still want that facility to be able to, in that area, to still be able to serve the residents of that area in the city while we're under construction. So, and I'd like to complete the rollout of the main track park maintenance software system. Parks and Recreation operating budget. You see it broken down here. You'll see in this budget presentation the operation expenditures. You'll see the operation expenditures were reduced across the board. This is from my staff and I looking at every operational function. We looked at the last 3 to 4 years of what we spent, our history. We looked at the year to date. We shaved where we needed, we adjusted where we needed, and I think we've come up with a solid budget for next year. Parks and Recreation operating budget. Here's the list of the functions that we do, and I'll go over each one of those individual budgets in the following slides. Administration and community events. You can see the operation expenditures reduced in consulting services, and that was from $50,000 for master plans. The remainder of the cuts were across the board shaving of items and making sure that they're consistent with what we've done in the past years and where we're at this year. Recreation operating budget. You'll see there's an increase in personnel services. That's due to a transfer of 3 transportation specialists from park maintenance to recreation. That's 2 full-time staff at $116,497 and 1 part-time position at $18,509. For summer camp, you can see we reduced staffing cost. Again, that was downsizing summer camp out west. The Quiet Waters camp location is now serviced by the Broward County School Board. Park maintenance. Again, that decrease from personnel services, that was that transfer from the transportation specialist in park maintenance to recreation. Athletics and aquatics. We're still supporting youth football, cheerleading, and Little League. We were able to look in the other, our history over the last several years and look at the year dates across the board. And I believe we have a good, strong budget that reflects those needs. Waterfront operations. The main change to the waterfront operations budget was the capital. The underwater camera was moved to public affairs and marketing. Cemetery, there was a decrease in $20,000 in the operating budget. That was the main larger item, and that was survey services. We did the survey of the cemetery last year, and that is no longer needed in the next year's budget. Future considerations beyond capital accreditation. That is a 3 to 4 year process to get that going, and it's a 5-year commitment. Every 5 years they come back and we get reaccredited. Parks and Recreation System Master Plan, our last full system master plan was in 2004. It's been 15 years. Typically we need to do that every 5 years. Master plan include items like the Marty Popelski Master Plan, the Pioneer Park Master Plan, and the Constitution Park Master Plan. We'd like to do citywide landscape median improvements, standardize those look and appearance, and keep evaluating those and keep improving the entrances to our city and along our roadways.
Commissioner Parnas and Commissioner Preston.
Yes. What plans do you see, and how long do you think it'll take to open up the Marty Popelski Park?
We need to do some community input, and we need to probably get some consulting services for a master plan of that to see what the community needs out there. I'd like to see what the community wants and needs out there. Some of the staff needs that we need, some of the recreation programming needs that we need that could go out there. Probably needs to fall in our master plan. That's a pretty big site, and we're going to have one chance to do that. We need to do it right.
It's 50 acres.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's my district, so I'll be happy to work with you in reaching out to the public.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Preston.
A couple of things here. Number one, I'd like to say to the staff and to the commission, we need to really pay attention to the, if you go over to the pier now, it says, right there when you walk in Deerfield Beach International Fishing Pier. To be honest with you, it needs to be refurbished now. If we wait, it's going to be worse. Those 2 fish that are there, it's the salt, and it's taking an effect. And if we just wait, it's going to get worse and worse and worse, and then it's going to cost more. I'm telling you, the time to do that is now while it's not too bad. I was looking at it yesterday, and I just looked at it. It needs to be redone now. So just want to make the commission aware of that as well as staff. The other thing is we have a situation, commission, staff, where we have people in this community that want to spend time with kids. They were raised in the city of Deerfield Beach, went to school at Deerfield Beach High School, and all their main desire is to give back to the community. How? Mentoring kids. Problem. They can't afford the fees, to use the gym or that sort of thing. So, listen, anytime one person takes one kid off the street and begin to point them in the right direction is a good thing. And we in government should not make it hard for them to do that, and we are. We are. So I'm going to ask the city and my commission to let's sponsor 5 programs of people that meet the whatever criteria that we would set, background checks, all of that stuff. There is one program in place right now. They're hopping from place to place. They have Division I basketball players through this program. They live right here in Deerfield Beach. But they can't afford $100 an hour with the gym. So I'm going to ask the city that we need to really pay attention to this, because this is a huge problem. There are, and they're just one, but there are other organizations that are set up that are nonprofit, that are working with kids and taking these kids and doing great things with them. Some of them have already graduated from college. Now, there's a basketball team, a basketball organization. Let's face it, the chances of any of those kids making it to the NBA, you have a better chance of winning the lottery. But we do win the lottery because they get an education, and when they come back to the city of Deerfield Beach with a degree, they're going to be able to help this community. We ought not make it hard for them. So I'm asking the city, let's sponsor 5 programs where these people can use the gym or use the field or whatever we're doing so they can continue to mentor these kids. Unfortunately, a lot of the young kids in my district do not have a father. Now, when you're, it's tough when you're young, but you get a kid that's now 13, 14, 15 years old, that's that tiny window that we better get him right at that time, or else he's going to come in somebody's district, might be in my own district, but he might come into yours, not meaning to hurt someone, but end up hurting someone, and it be not good. And we can head a lot of that off by helping people. There are some people that are working with little girls, and I know a lady she's working, she has a nonprofit working with kids and young ladies, pointing these kids in the right direction. And we need to help them. They live within this city, and it would be a good thing if we can recognize the good that we can do and put it in place so that we can make it easier for these people to work with these kids.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Drosky.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Puzo, your department puts on numerous events during the year, and they are very well received by not just the residents of Deerfield Beach, but from the communities around us. A lot of people come from from Pompano and Boca to our events, and one of the 2 reasons that they come that I hear all the time is, one is how well they're organized, and 2, because a lot of them are free. And I think that is critical, and I would continue that philosophy going forward. The Fall Festival is so popular because the pumpkins that they give out are free. The Easter events are extremely popular because the Easter eggs are filled with candy, and those are free. The summer kickoff event is popular because the beach balls to the kids are free. The Ocean Way Holiday event, now I know that's part of the CRA as well, is a huge success that we have here. And those events that do have fees are very nominal. The Ocean Blues and Brews is actually a free event, but if you choose to drink, there's a small fee associated with that. And the Sip and Stroll event likewise has a small fee associated with it. I think that's the success to our events here in Deerfield Beach, is continuing to provide the quality events to either no or low charges to the residents of those coming. Those attract residents. I hear it all the time, and to me that's the winning formula going forward. So I wouldn't want to lose any of that. If that's in your budget to take away, I'd want to supplement those events. The public loves the events, especially around different holidays. So you might even think of increasing or doing other holiday events that we don't have. They're very popular and well received here by the residents. That's what I hear when I attend these events, and that's what I'd like to continue to see happen.
Thank you. I have a question regarding special event sponsorship. You said 2019, we did 52,000, which approximately half of that was soft cost donations. What is our goal for 2020 as far as raising that? Because that seems like an extraordinarily small number, the amount of great events that we do put on in the city and how many different opportunities I would think would be out there for us to get some sponsorship. Do we have a goal?
The goal would be to get as much sponsorship as possible. This is 50,000 year to date. I'm sure staff has what we've made in previous years sponsorship. I'm not sure we've made revenue-wise.
Okay. What I'd like to see is for us to, I'm sorry, go ahead, Cassie.
Last year, it was around 165,000.
Okay.
A large chunk of that came from in-kind sponsorship for the Big Buffalo event.
Okay.
So,
And we're anticipating that again this year? Okay. Thank you. The operating budget for the community events right now is recommended to be just under $1.4 million. Is that what we're looking at for our community events?
For administration and
It's for okay, administration and community events. One of the things I think would help the commission is to take a look at all the special events that we have and basically get an analysis of like which one of them are, which ones are working. Are we getting our return back on those? And which ones aren't? And maybe reallocate that money. I'm sure as a department you do that, but as a commission, I feel a little blind on that. I think we do it on an individual basis. Occasionally when these events come up, we usually get a synopsis after the event where they kind of inform us and let us know how many people we attracted and that sort of thing. And I know we've had issues with like our great 4th of July event because we can't seem to get businesses to even answer a damn survey. But I think it would be important for us to see what's working, what's not working, what the attendance approximate attendance is, so we can go out to the public, find out exactly what they're looking for. I was glad to see pickleball in here. I know that's something, I can tell you when I first got involved as an elected official, it actually predates me and I've been here a long time. They used to have, Parks and Rec was always a little slow in adapting to faddish sports. They were building roller hockey rinks that by the time they got constructed, no one was doing it anymore. We had that. Pickleball is something that's pretty popular, has been popular for quite a while, so there's a little bit of longevity to it, and it's a low income cost to the city to adapt some of our tennis courts to include pickleball. I see we have one in here. Are we looking to, we're going to monitor that and see, potentially expand that?
I'm actually looking at the existing tennis courts, and I've had staff get prices to not convert those courts, to put some lines on those courts, and put them in the pickleball.
That's really good to hear.
Preston, if you could just get your mic. Yep.
Did everybody hear me? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if that's something we could see,
Yes, and thank you, Mayor. Actually, I can comment on all the comments. I'm not sure if there's still more. I can wait and just, I'll.
sure. Commissioner Parnas?
Yes, sir.
I grew up without organized sports, except in high school. We found a softball field, we chose upsize, we played baseball. We found a golf course that was closed for the winter, we played football on the fairway. Choose upsides, just play till it got dark. Today everything is too organized. Win, 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 win at all costs. No. Kids have to have fun. The other day I had lunch at the Cracker Barrel. We looked out the window and there were 8 kids playing basketball on,
At the teen center.
I don't know where the hoops came from,
Teen Center.
It's the teen center.
whatever, and they were just playing basketball and having a blast.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to see more of that in our parks, an area where kids can just play. Without uniforms, without coaches screaming at them, without parents, like Little League, which I coached for 12 years in New York. just choose up sides and have fun. That's part of what parks are all about. That I'd like to see to go into some of the planning of the parks, an area where kids can just play, whether it's just a basketball court. Or we didn't have full length, where you had 2 baskets. You went back to the line and up again, now it's your turn to go for the hoop.
Right.
And we had a blast. I'd like to see that instilled again, where kids just go to have fun.
Yes, sir.
What were the chariot races like back when you were a kid? I will pay for that later. I have no doubt.
No, you won't pay for it. They were about as much fun as you're in a spear throwing contest.
One of the things we may want to consider also, we do have other sports leagues out there. Some of them we're funding, some we do support with soft costs. And I'll give you an example of one right now who's advancing, and I'll just get the specific details on this. But our Deerfield Beach Little League, they won the district sectional championship this past Saturday, and they're going to the Florida State Tournament, which is being held July 5th and 7th in Lakewood Ranches over in Bradenton. They don't have enough funding, or they're struggling with some funding to do that. We may want to consider maybe having the ability, as some of our other youth leagues out there, as they advance to, because they don't know when they're going to advance or when they're not, and while I think it's on them to budget for that, we may want to keep a small amount of money to maybe assist with that. I have encouraged them to go out to some of the service organizations in the community to try to get some assistance on that. But that's just something for possible consideration on that. The other thing is, I know we have our youth, and this is something that Commissioner Preston had brought up about a fishing tournament. I know we have our youth fishing tournament that we do out there, and that's been extremely popular and really well done. And staff has done a great job with a lot of support from outside volunteers. But, I don't know, when we look at all these special events that we have, if we're going to consider something like what Commissioner Preston brought up, which I think is a good idea, maybe that can be brought into the mix and figure out if we eliminate something, maybe add that, just a consideration.
Thank you, and I greatly appreciate, I'm sure Preston does as well, the feedback on 2, what I consider themes, which would be sports and events, programming as well. But in terms of any of the discussions here tonight related to sports, we are formulating a sports policy, and we'll have that before you either at the second meeting in August or into the new fiscal year. And so this feedback is very helpful as we are putting that together. We'll have that back to you. Secondly, we've had discussions about the special events and the recreational programs as well. We want to make sure that we bring that before you at some point once Preston's able to come up for air and talk to you about that, perhaps in a workshop about what's working really well, where there may be redundancy, where we're not getting the numbers, where the opportunities may be for revenue-generating events like a fishing tournament and those sorts of things. So appreciate the feedback, and those are my responses for you. So we'll have that for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations on your first one there. Thank you. Mr. Santucci, I'm going to do public input now. If anyone from the public care to comment, please come up, give your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commissioners, City staff. Gwendolyn Clark Reed, 1430 Southwest 6th Way, Deerfield. I would like to start with my questioning with the economic development. You mentioned how many businesses came to the city of Deerfield? How many left? Also, the monies that are in the CRA I've spoken with, had conversation on Sunday with one of the county commissioners, and seems to be some discussion going on about moving monies that are in the CRA to other areas in the city. Mayor, I don't know if you've had those discussions, or if you heard anything about that, but that was mentioned. So I'm looking at economic development to possibly develop a plan of where, if we have monies that can be moved, where they would be moved to. Let's see what else here. Oh, in planning, when a resident comes in and needs a survey, when you're talking about digitalizing things, is it possible somewhere in the budget that we can put in that you digitalize the resident's survey, so I don't have to keep coming back and bringing the survey every time I need to have something done? That can be a little taxing. Okay, community development, our CDBG funds, as we talked about, they're going to be doing a new plan. Is that what you said, Vicki? We'll be updating our plan. And we talked about monies, and Mayor, thank you, for discussing what we talked about last night. Is there services that our seniors need, and particularly when it comes to code enforcement, people who are getting cited because their homes are not painted or they need to be painted. And we did have a recycling of paint program at one time, which we don't have anymore. So I'm looking, possibly when we redirect CDBG funds, that for those residents who just need those types of things done to their homes, particularly the seniors, and those are seniors who do not have a very large income, or others, that we be able to provide some funds or work with some group to get them the paint, not necessarily do the painting for them, but getting the actual paint. Community development, you told us about $15,000 for the census. Is that right, City Manager? Did you say that's in the budget?
That's correct.
Okay. I'd like to know how that's going to be spent, if you can share that with me later. School board attending the EBA. I am the vice chair of the EAB, Education Advisory. Let me just say something about appointments to that particular board. It's very difficult, I'm finding it difficult, working with issues that we as a city have and having employees of the school board on that board. For them to take a position in opposition to the school board, it's questionable. So when I'm asking that, when you look at your appointments to the EAB, that you kind of take certain things into consideration, and that's a discussion that we can have at another time. But that's something that I think the commission needs to look at when you talk about asking us to work with our school board members and other persons attending meetings. The Center for Active Aging, I'm over there now. And I'm having a good time. But I'd just like to say that it's programming that's at the center. When Commissioner Preston wanted to know about why we don't have the attendance at the center as we think we should, I think we need to look at the programming that's done there, if it's other budgetary concerns, that we really take a look at that to get other folks, more people, I should say, attending the center. Parks and Recreation. What's crowd management? I'm sorry, I don't have, you said you had 6 crowd managers. Someone who can tell me what a crowd manager person is? I would appreciate that. And also, our special events, and the input from the community. We said we're going to look at events and see which ones really produced and people attended and what have you. I think that if we had more input from city residents on how they want to see events and what events need to take place, and spending our money much wiser, that would help. And mayor and commissioners and city manager, I had a call just before I left the house. Folks are still on this football, what's happening. The kids are not doing anything for the summer. They want to know what's going to happen for the fall. I didn't see any dollar amounts in there. I know that the city commission said something about $75,000 for Packer Rattlers, and what happened now to the Bisons. I don't see the explanations in the budget for next year for that, and that's very important. That seems to be something that's very important in District 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? I'm going to close it to the public. Mr. Santucci.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. One of the things that we can do is in terms of looking at how many businesses left the city, we can turn to our business tax receipts and those that did not renew them. However, that's not a very clear indication of those that have left the city, because you're also going to have delinquencies in there. So we can start with that report and take a look at how we can refine that and gather more data, but I appreciate the suggestion and we'll take a look at that.
I think that lends itself towards business retention, not just business accumulation.
Absolutely, thank you. I'm not aware of any discussions at the commission and CRA board level regarding CRA dollars or moving CRA dollars, so I will defer that one. Yes, that's exactly what Eric was talking about when he talked about digitizing records. Just to get a simple residential survey, we'll be able to just email that off to whoever is requesting it. So that will certainly be included in there. You know, I know something about the paint program, but that's just not, I can't remember exactly what's going on with that. I know that's right up Mr. Gressick's alley with the on the solid waste side of things and sustainable management. But I'll find out. I think that program actually is a county program at this point.
It was. It's been eliminated.
And it's been eliminated. Okay. Yeah. So. Oh yeah. We will certainly look into that. There is really no question, I think, on the Center for Active Aging, other than that it kind of is the reason why we did that rebranding of the Center for Active Aging, to be a catalyst for reprogramming, and they have brought a lot of new programs onto the table to promote an active lifestyle for our elderly community, and they continue to do so and seek feedback. So if you have any ideas now that you're at the center, please let Donna or Sherry know, and I'm sure they'd be happy to entertain those. What is crowd management? It's really meant for these large-scale special events on how the Parks and Recreation staff should manage these crowds in terms of movement and surveying and crowd control and those sorts of things. So that's what crowd management is.
So it's an actual title?
No, it's a training. They went through training to learn how to do that. Mm-hmm. And yes, just along the lines of, as the commission has spoken tonight, and we have had discussions here at the staff level about community participation on events and program, we'll certainly look to do that in the future. And for the funding for football, as it was $75,000 this year, which was all inclusive. This year it's $35,000, as we've already purchased all the equipment, so we won't have that need next year, as well as all the background checks and officiating. So
That's for both organizations?
Yeah.
that's for football and cheerleading, and then we're getting the same $10,000 for Little League. I hope that answers the question.
Okay. We can get clarification rather than have you shout if that's all right. Sure. If we can get with.
Yeah, sure. And I believe that addresses all the questions.
Okay. I just want to say this, and Commissioner Preston and I had a quick little aside, and so we're not violating sunshine law. What he said to me is how impressed he is, and I'm sure we'll all chime in on this. Mr. Santucci, you have, and your staff, our staff, this isn't always fun, and you have stepped into this position in the interim, and you have had to hit the ground running in a lot of different areas, and I want to thank you for your professionalism. We had a few bumps the first night. You made adjustments on the fly, and they've reflected in how well run these have been the last couple of nights. I can speak for myself and from the comments that I've heard Commissioner Preston say, and all of us, just want to thank you. An excellent job. The entire staff that you've done, even those we've beat up here, and probably me more than others, but all of you have done an outstanding job considering the circumstances. It's a wonderful reflection on the job that you're doing, and thank you very, very much. It's greatly appreciated. I don't see anyone else from the public coming up, and we'll close it to the public. I do want to thank Eddie Martinez for all of your technical assistance. We did not embarrass ourselves yet. So, pardon? Dave Hunt? You know, Dave, we're going to embarrass you a little bit. I didn't mean to wake you up. I'm sorry, Dave, but no. Outstanding job. Really, really appreciate all the hard work in our facilities here, but all of you, thank you very, very much for the job you've done. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned.